Can we swear?
Yes.
Fuck?
Yes.
Does it go beyond that?
Nah, I think that's the limit.
Oh, sweet. Fuck yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's fucking go.
Let's go.
All right,
Go,
let's riff.
go.
Let's riff. Is my hat straight? You picked on me about that before.
Yeah, listen.
This is a very old hat.
This is also a very old shirt, but I felt it was appropriate considering what was happening today.
That's an OG shirt. Is that
OG shirt? I wore this in our very first photo shoot when we opened the gym. So it was 7 days after we opened.
that old?
Yeah. But there's some OGs in the community that still rock this too.
Yes, it's half the gorilla face.
It's half the gorilla face.
I remember this. This is an old billy cap that would also be about that as old as that.
Speaking of old.
5 years.
Speaking of old, we're pretty old.
Sure.
So we're here to actually tell the listeners, you guys, about our old school stories and essentially what was the journey of Adrian and Chrissy before Earth to Body was born.
Sweet. I'm going to land this episode on the start of Earth to Body, but this is going to be a story, from when we met, how it all started, to Earth to Body.
And how we came together to run a business together.
So we've been together for a long time. We're high school sweethearts.
Yep.
Year 11. And we've been married 12 years.
Almost.
Oh, almost.
You nearly got it.
Almost. I'm only a couple of months off. I know that much.
Yep.
So I want to ask, I want listeners to understand how you came to be the person that you are, that you're a boss, you're a CEO, you're a founder of a pretty hardcore fitness brand, an impact fitness brand that's doing some pretty epic shit. And I want people to know how you came to be who you are. So let's take a deep dive.
Well, I think I'm just going to correct you firstly. I'm a co-founder because there's no way I could do this without you. So as you said, our story started in high school and then a lot unfolded from there. Mm-hmm. Like a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's go back to some early jobs. And I think there's some earlier jobs prior to this, but I think nursing has a lot to do with your character. So can you tell us a little bit about how you think nursing molded your character?
Well, to give a little bit of backstory before I actually entered a nursing career, it wasn't straight from high school. So in our year 12, when we were trying to work out what we wanted to do for the rest of our life, at that time I was hell-bent on becoming a private investigator. I was watching so much Law and Order, Special Victims Unit for those at home. Oh my gosh. And I was I brainwashed myself into thinking that I could be a hardcore criminal justice,
You totally could have been.
Well, maybe, but something changed and I decided that life was not an American TV series. So I left that journey aside, and before the whole nursing idea came into the picture, I actually just lent into the job I had in high school at the time, which was I was working casually in the hospitality industry in a cafe. So after high school, when I had my realization of crime and fighting crime wasn't my destiny, I went full-time into hospitality and worked my butt off for a good few years before nursing came into the picture.
Mm-hmm. And what inspired the decision for you to become a nurse?
So it was never in my sights until my grandfather, who I loved dearly, we shared a love for mushrooms together. It was like just a little thing we had. I also came up with a nickname for my grandfather that all the grandchildren adopted as well. I was took the lead on that one, and we were just really close. And in his last days and weeks, he was in palliative care, and I was exposed firsthand to the level of care that the nurses in that facility were providing, and I was mind blown. And I think because I was on the receiving end too, like I was close family to, I guess, my grandfather being the patient, I saw firsthand the level of care that was being given, and I was like, far out, this is making a difference, and I want to do this. And that's literally where it all started. And at that point in time, I was like, oh, I want to be a palliative care nurse. That didn't eventuate, but that immediately started me on my journey into nursing.
And you were on one ward for 15 years?
Oh, nah. My entire nursing career was almost 15 years. But, yeah, I was, for the majority of my career in the public system, yeah, I was on one ward, so one specialty, which was surgical nursing, which was incredibly busy and high pressure and high paced.
Yep.
Which required high performance.
Yep.
As well.
And you landed or spent the last part of your career as an ANUM, an assistant nurse unit manager. You spent some time as a nurse unit manager. Did these opportunities come to you? Was it something that comes naturally? Were you, even if we go way back, high school, you were the school captain. I might have been a little shit and distracted you in some ways from that. But yeah, you've always had I guess it's always, the opportunity has always presented itself for you. Like, why do you think that is?
Oh, why? I don't know why. I feel like people around me, as I've grown, have had more belief in me than me. So when the leadership opportunities presented themselves in the nursing space, it was, at the start, it was from those around me believing in me and suggesting that I have a crack. It was actually never something in my sights. I was never really interested in working my way up into leadership roles in the nursing space. But I think I was encouraged by some beautiful nurses that I worked with. I ended up being successful, and then the rest sort of unraveled from there. And I did enjoy these new roles that I was stepping into. I was learning so much. I was required to grow. I was required to lead. There was a transition which was, I think I can take away a lot of growth from it now, but it was challenging at the time. Like I transitioned from working alongside my peers to then managing my peers and leading my peers. And that was like a learning experience in itself and a bridge I had to cross. And but eventually I think I ended up thriving I did. I loved it. I ended up loving these new leadership positions. I ended up thriving in those positions. I felt like I was even busier than I was on the floor. And I'm telling you now, for those that don't know much about nursing, it is one of the most busiest nonstop jobs. Like, it's no joke when nurses say that they don't get a break. They're on their feet all day, and they will look after you before they look after themselves. It's a very selfless line of work. I worked with some incredible humans, but then, I got the opportunity to lead those humans, and I learned so much through those leadership roles to the point where, I was also being mentored by those who I answered to and my managers, and that presented so much opportunity for my own professional growth. And I experienced managing high-performing teams, large teams, like up to 70 employees at one time, and then eventuated to, a lot of leading teams through change, especially when we went through the pandemic and things like that. So I'm incredibly grateful for the experience and the growth I got out of those roles. And I loved my nursing career. A lot of people ask me now, would I go back? And truth is, I don't think so, because I love what we do now. But at the same time, do I miss it? Like, I miss little moments of it. And I have, I'll never not respect what they do or take for granted what nurses do there.
Totally.
They're ripper humans.
I've obviously met a lot of them and, made good friends with them along the way. And I think it takes a very special person to do that job. Nurses are incredible. And proof is in the fact that I couldn't do it. I feel like I'm an empath, and we're both here for service. It's something that we live by. but there's a certain level of resilience and selflessness that comes from that role. I think you're incredibly resilient, and I think that there's another chapter in your story that's molded that, and that is your time running a charity. So are you able to give some insight into that, and would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. A lot of growth and resilience through nursing. Absolutely, I agree there. Just from a perspective of coming face to face and dealing with all different types of people from all walks of life, but then shifting over to the charity work, which was happening at the same time. So we, but more so me, lent into creating a charity which was supporting an education program in a third world country, being Cambodia. That was happening simultaneously whilst I was in these leadership positions at the hospital. So there was a lot going on at once, but it was just another opportunity for me to help people. It came off the back of our love for travel, and we are stumbling across this group of people that we saw an opportunity to help. And the beauty of every time we came back from our travels in Cambodia, you know, you came home and you got a reality check, and you were like, we can't take for granted what we have here. And you get to see firsthand what an actual tough life is. We sometimes go through times here where we think life is tough. Nah, mate, not compared to these beautiful people living in a war-torn country. Like the civil war was so recent for those in Cambodia, and when we were over there, we saw firsthand like evidence of the war that was still affecting people's lives very, very heavily. So through creating the charity to provide an official platform for us to make a real impact and help the community that we'd connected with over in Cambodia, that was again another opportunity for me to lean into leadership, to work with a team of people. You know, nursing required teamwork, and working in a high-performing team. Charity required teamwork of a different kind, and it brought a lot of empaths together as well for a united cause that we were all passionate about. And, you know, even people in that charity team, or the charity committee we called it, not all of them had even been to Cambodia, but they were just people that wanted to do good, and they trusted us and they believed in what we believed in. And that was a really special time, and we did a lot of good in I think it was almost 5 years running the charity. And we extended out like that experience and that opportunity to other people in our lives. It went outside the charity committee. There was other people who followed along our charity journey and, you know, ended up going to Cambodia themselves and meeting and having their own experiences with this community and supporting through donations and their time, which was really cool and really special that we were able to provide that. But I think in the end, the charity wrapped up after that sort of 5-year period. I feel like that's a podcast episode in itself, what happened with the charity and everything. But there was so many learnings. Like in hindsight, we were super naive. I was super naive when we started that whole saga and that whole chapter of our lives. There was nothing but good intention. However, like there comes a level of knowledge, experience, maturity, and insight required to, you know, work with people in a third world country. And I was that knowledge and experience was quite limited when we, you know, dove headfirst into this charity journey. And I think coming out the other side now, like whilst we made really positive impact in the time we were working on this project, and we touched a lot of people's lives in a good way. There was a lot of hard learnings that came from it too, because the way the charity story wrapped up was nothing that I had seen coming and was unplanned, and it involved a lot of repair of relationships and repair of, you know, I guess embracing a change in direction from where I saw things going, and that resulted in a lot of growth. At the time, it was really hard for me to wrap up the charity, and it was really hard for me because I was feeling a sense of failure in what I'd set out to do. I feel like I'd not only let the community in Cambodia down, I felt like I'd let the team down, the charity committee, but it was through no ill intentions, and the learnings, the positives that I was able to eventually take away from it was a shit ton of learning, a shit ton of growth. And I think I have definitely built a lot of resilience through just going through that experience. And I don't have any regrets. I'm grateful for the experience. Like my very first tattoo, this first tattoo it tells a story. This was the logo of the school community that we were helping. And after things, didn't go the way we planned, people would ask me, so you're going to remove the tattoo? I'm like, no way. Like it represents a really special time in my life. And there's a story to it now. Like I said, it could probably go for a whole other podcast episode, but did it contribute to the person I am today and the skill set that I have and the resilience that I have? Fucking absolutely.
I think there was, as you say, it's a whole episode, but with it not ending the way we'd intended, like it was fucking hard when you invest, at the time, 5 years of your life, and we nearly moved to Cambodia.
Yeah. It nearly went that far.
It was very close, but I think pressure builds diamonds, and I think that you look at things through a different lens when you come on the other side of something like this, and I do think it has a lot to do with how you see the world and how we meet people and interact with people. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah.
And
it builds that life experience. It's all part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the good and the bad, but it helps us grow. And I have no regrets.
I remember gyms over there.
The $1 gym.
It was it was like a basketball court with like, it was fenced, and there was like old school bro style, cable machines,
Rusty
like some fucked
equipment.
ones. It was cooked, but how good was it? Like, I love the heat.
Yeah.
I loved the $1 factor. I loved like actually being amongst like the locals, like doing it, like fucking raw dog rough.
Yep.
Like, that was so cool. So I kind of wanted to segue that into like, where does fitness enter Chrissy's life? Where do we go from nursing to running a charity? How does fitness tie into all of this?
Oh, so fitness for me, gosh, I think early days it was nothing but basic bitch. Like after high school, I think nothing happened in high school apart from I think playing some netball, and getting involved in athletics and things like that. After high school, I remember I've always included like the gym in my life, but with no clue what I was doing or no intention, right? So I remember after high school joining a gym and just doing the old Les Mills classes. Body combat used to be my fave. You wouldn't catch me dead in one of those classes now, but they served a purpose. They were great at the time for where I was at. I was doing that for quite a while. As when we moved house to a new suburb, I remember we joined the local gym and I engaged with a personal trainer for the first time. As you do, like it's, quite standard to be put together with a personal trainer when you join one of those 24-hour gyms, and I got a little program and was doing that, and I was actually a bit bored with that until I actually I noticed another trainer in there who was pushing people in a small group environment, and I wanted a piece of that. And I think when I engaged with her was around the time where I actually started to focus on setting some goals for myself. I'd never trained with a goal in mind, apart from maybe a bit of aesthetics, but didn't really care how I got there. I think at the time where I engaged with a trainer at this gym, I was also suffering from pretty severe back pain. I have been living with scoliosis since my early teen years, and that got worse and worse whilst I was nursing and on my feet all the time. It just exacerbated the pain. And so when I engaged with the trainer, yes, I had some aesthetic goals, but I also had learned recently to that strength training could be very much a part of the answer to my pain, and to build a stronger body and more resilient, robust body to be able to, support my structures and be pain-free. And that was my journey. That's how it started, with getting into something more serious.
And define like strength training carrying over, like that's a long time on the barbell.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there was aesthetic goals involved too. Like I wanted to get strong for my back pain, but I also had some aesthetic goals. And that actually came, I think, from a bit of living around you for too long, because you were, at the time, you had competed in a few bodybuilding shows, and I was, you know, living or witnessing that firsthand, what you were doing. I had a lot of respect for the commitment and dedication it took to go through a competition prep. I didn't have an interest in competing myself, just wasn't my jam, but I had a respect for the process. And so I kind of lent into wanting a bit of that. So I said to this trainer, like, I want to do a comp prep without the comp. And I want to sort of get my physique to a point where maybe I was about, like I say, 4 to 6 weeks out from comp level, because I didn't want to get to what we refer to as dick skin shredded. Like,
Shredded as a penis?
Shredded as a penis. Sounds horrible, but I didn't want to get to that exact point, but I didn't want to become too far off that. So we, together with this trainer, I went through my first real committed journey to a program, or my commitment to a program, and I carried out a 22-week comp prep without the comp, and I didn't miss a beat.
That is so long.
It's so long. When I talk about it now.
I didn't even go like that long on a comp prep.
But, you know, all it took as well to keep me motivated, my trainer at the time, we should be like, you know, you're one of my best clients. Like, you just do as you're told. You stick to the program. I'm like, yeah, bitch. Fuck. It just fired me up more. So I didn't miss a beat. 6 days a week, I was in the gym. Never missed a day. I stuck to my nutrition. At that time, I had entered the world of plant-based eating, and at the time my trainer, she wasn't well versed in that, which she fully admitted, but she fully supported it, and she was like, I'm going to give you the structure, but you're going to choose the meals and you're going to choose the foods.
And what was the structure?
You know, like the calories and macros.
Yep.
I, you know, at that point in time, like I don't live that way now. I don't count calories now. But at the time, yeah, I did, and it taught me a lot at the time. But yeah, so that commitment also saw those strength goals achieve at the same time as my aesthetic goals. And that resulted in a complete change in my physique, but it also resulted in, I was like, by the end of that program time, I was deadlifting 120 kilos, which was at the time more than twice my body weight. And
what a fucking beast.
Yeah. Like,
fuck yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a fuck yeah on the day we tested that. But what came with that too was my back pain was diminishing to the point where my treatments, like when my back pain was really bad, I was getting treatments once, maybe twice a week. Myotherapist, dry needling, cupping, deep massage, and it would only give me temporary relief. When I say temporary relief, maybe 24 hours if you're lucky. I was just living with pain. So the aesthetic gains and the strength gains that I achieved from that process were life-changing for me at the time.
Could you feel that like happening directly? Like if it was a 22-week journey where you were dialed into the barbell, because that trainer was, you know, compounds, deadlifts, squats, pressing, you were working on pull-ups. Like, could you actually directly feel a correlation between the strength training and like being more pain-free?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
That's
it took
wild.
a while. It probably, you know, a bit of a slow start, but that probably also came with my like being green in strength training and green in lifting. But it didn't take long. Once I was actually able to move decent weight, you know, with good form and everything like that, yeah, I was actually starting to feel a difference. And that only fired me up to keep me going too. Like, it wasn't just the motivation from me sticking to the plan and seeing results. It was feeling there was unlocking moments of pain-free. And despite me, I was always, you know, relating it and blaming a lot of it on my job and being on my feet all day, which like I said, I do think that made it probably a little bit worse, but I was able to continue on my long days on my feet at work, but feeling a lot better and not coming home in agony and begging you for a massage every night.
Kind of speaks to prevention being medicine. you know, like you're still deadlifting today and you've deadlifted heavier than 120. I know you love deadlifts.
I do.
And pull-ups. Anything back related.
Well, yeah, it's just so happened that I do like, I've naturally gravitated towards all backside posterior chain movements being my favorites. So, and that actually has nothing to do with the fact that I got a strong back. I just like them.
Doesn't mind a power clean?
Don't mind a power clean. Love a power clean now that I can do them.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's proactive now.
Mm-hmm.
That approach to it's getting strong. It's trying to prevent my back pain from returning. It's trying to prevent as deep as, you know, lifestyle disease. Like I'm not a bear anymore. Like, you know, we're starting to tickle into the 40s soon, and you know, lifestyle disease can affect us even in our 30s. I see it. I saw it in the hospital. Like when I was working as a nurse, it would scare the shit out of me when I would see patients sometimes in their 20s, even their 20s and 30s, coming in with a past history of multiple issues already at that point in their life, most of them being preventable from lifestyle choices. So, yeah, being on the other side of that now and being able to be in a space where we can help prevent that through an early connection with health and fitness, as opposed to being on the other side of it and being reactive with interventional healthcare. It's more aligned now. I like being on this side more.
Oh yeah.
So let's just, I'm going to spin it around now. So we're going to go down the Adrian path now.
Sure.
And let's, I guess, share with the listeners your journey from, let's say, when we, you know, colluded in high school to where you are now and how you entered the fitness space. But my early memories of you were a hard worker, but music was always a big part of your life. I mean, we got together on Bandcamp, as cheesy as that sounds for everyone at home.
All around the time that like American Pie was popping too, and funny things were happening at Bandcamp. So it
actually was funny, yeah. And we potentially copped a bit of shit for that. But yeah, we got together on Bandcamp. That's how Adrian and Chrissy started their journey. So, you know, I guess music was part of your life in high school, and it became part of your life. Just like the charity was happening simultaneously with my nursing, music was always simultaneously a part of your life with your different jobs and your different careers. So tell us.
Music. Well, music's always been a part of my life. I think music is fucking everything. Energy is everything, and then music is the beat. And yeah, I played drums from when I was 3 years old. My uncle left me with a drum kit. He moved in when my dad left, and I played drums ever since and played in bands. Had an amazing time with one band in particular. We traveled around, myself and my best mate ran that band and put our heart and soul into it for years. We played on Rove, we toured around Australia with bands that we loved, and just had an amazing time writing music, you know, getting into a studio a couple of times a week, recording music. So yeah, that was a big, you know, that was an enjoyable part of my journey. And with that particular friend that I ran the band with, we went to a doof and Rainbow Serpent at the time, and came back from Rainbow Serpent wanting to build our own music festival, and our direction in that space and how we were creating music, and yeah, it just opened up a whole different journey for me in the music space. And we started hosting parties, and I started mixing electronic music. I started writing electronic music, and yeah, I'm still, I guess, yeah, on that path in the type of music that I listen to, and speaks to a lot of what's happening at Earth the Body at the moment.
Well, I think it's fair to say between the two of us, we always say that you're the creative. Like my attempts of creating stuff is pretty terrible. And out of the two of us, yeah, you're the creative one, and I'm more of the, you know, create the process or the operational sort of brains to our business. do you think, like, how do you think music played a part to your creative side that's still staying strong today, and that role that it plays in how you run the business?
I'm not sure music attributes the creative part that I bring into the business. I don't think I can attribute music to it, but music was a platform where I was able to express, and I'm still able to express. But I love building things. Like, I love creating things. I loved building this podcast studio. I loved program writing. I loved creating. I loved designing our space and creating an energy or an experience for people. And music was just one way that I was able to do that, and still am able to do that. Like, if, something that we stand by is that energy is everything, and music is a part of that. So if someone's entering our space, like, there's playlists, that we use that, create a certain energy. We want an energy for when people arrive. You want an energy for when there's people warming up. You want an energy for, like, a certain part of the workout. There has to be a certain type of music that's playing when we're lifting. There has to be a certain type of music playing when it gets hectic and we're running and we're rowing and we're fucking sending it. Like, that needs its own full send vibe. So yeah, I think music is part of my, I guess, opportunity to express and create.
For sure. And I think the reps that you built through that time, like I said, that gap between high school and where we are today, music's always been there. And that was your avenue for expression and creative expression, 100%. But whilst that was all happening, you had to work. So maybe give us a little bit of description of, like, your different jobs. What got you, like, what were the steps before you entered the fitness space?
Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of different stuff, so I'm not going to speak to all of it in detail, but I will skim across it because I think it's interesting. My first job was selling papers. I went and door knocked on, this is going way back. This is like 14 years old. Selling papers, washing windscreens. I busked with a didgeridoo. I worked for the man for a little bit, and I had a great experience actually in a tool shop randomly. But he goes on to inventing a certain tool that I invested in, and at like early 20s it was like 15 grand in a year or something. I bought some shares. I sold out of it pretty quickly. That funded a trip to South America and Europe. And from there, tool shops, I got into repping for a company selling tools, and then I was working for myself with a business partner out in a van. That was from maybe like early 20s, so say 25. And from then I've worked for myself. I've worked for myself ever since. And the last job before going into PT land was wood-fired pizza. I was actually in the tool game and wanting to get out of it. I wanted to build a cash business because the tool game was all accounts, and I got burned by a couple of builders that didn't pay and that didn't sit well with me. Like, I was literally like losing sleep at night and just wondering like how someone could be so okay with fucking someone like that. Like, so yeah, I built this little pizza business, and actually when I became plant-based and made this business plant-based, this little pizza business took off. Like, it was, we were going to food truck parks, we were going to festivals, we were catering weddings, and it was a really fun part of the journey.
And am I right in remembering it was around the time that you were running the pizza business, or we were running it, you were leading it. I was trying to do it on the side of nursing, which was cray. You were also at the same time applying to join the fire brigade, and I remember that being pretty huge at the time, quite a journey.
It was like, whatever I do, like I go all in. If it's comp preps that you spoke about, I was like, if I commit to something, it is all in. And for years, I was all in on it. I got to a final interview twice with it. and decided after getting knocked back for the second time that I was going to pursue something else, because it was years of like all in, and other jobs on the side like the pizza business, albeit doing well. I knew it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. So yeah, after the second failed attempt at getting into the Brigade, I decided to explore PT. PT was personal training, was me understanding why I actually wanted to get into the Fire Brigade and realizing that there were other opportunities out there that served that same goal. And yeah, I started personal training.
And when you were personal training, how did that speak to maybe a reflection of your own fitness journey? And did your own fitness journey influence how, like, the way that you trained others?
Oh, for sure. So prior to personal training, running a plant-based pizza business, I was going plant-based really opened a lot of doors and changed my life in a big way. And going plant-based and doing a comp rep as a vegan 10 years ago now, 9 or 10 years ago, was not common. But I wanted to show what was possible on a plant-based diet. And that was when fitness became something full-time for me. And knowing that through fitness, I could actually make a difference and impact people in not just a physical way, but in a spiritual way and on planetary levels as well. Like, there's definitely levels to it. And yeah, through my own experiences, just inspired me to want to share that with people. And yeah, built a little one-on-one business out of a 24/7 gym near our house. Did that for a couple of years, and had some experience there running little group sessions, and then went and had some experience in a local strength and conditioning gym with bigger groups. Then I had some experience with a franchise gym that was coming out to Australia, and I owe a lot to that experience and the person that taught me in that space. But yeah, it made me realize that community and groups and harnessing the energy of a group, doing something hard together, was what I wanted to do. And here we are.
Here we are. And I think before we conclude on here we are, being now the founders of Earth to Body, you mentioned in describing your fitness journey the role that plant-based, the switch to plant-based had in that, and how that inspired where you took that journey and how you wanted to inspire others. So I think we should tell the listeners, how did our plant-based journey start? Because it actually has a lot to do with why Earth to Body is the business that it is. Do you remember where it started?
It started for me, like the pivotal moment where I knew I would never eat meat again was after watching a documentary called Cowspiracy on Netflix, not long after Netflix came out. And I remember I was actually going to a beekeeping course the next day after we watched it. And
that's right.
And I remember seeing a chick with this really vibrant bowl of, it was a fruit salad. And I'd prepped the night before, like steak. It was a steak, it was red meat and like steamed veg. And I looked at it and I just knew, looking at that I wasn't going to eat it. Like, I didn't see it as food.
And that was all from the doco the night before.
It was all from the doco the night before, yeah. And I knew that moment, like that was it. Like, and I went like, no dairy, no eggs, no cheese. At the time, I'd actually, I wasn't eating dairy anyway. There was no milk, no cheese, but cutting meat. Meat was a really meat heavy diet. But yeah, that was a very pivotal moment in time was watching that documentary and learning about, just for some context, the impact which animal agriculture has on the environment. So you go on to learn a lot more about the industry later, but what hit me was the impact that growing animals on the land has on the land. And I didn't want to contribute to that. I believe every dollar you spend is a vote for the world you want to live in, and power to you and how anybody spends their money. But I personally didn't want to attribute to what I'd seen on the documentary.
And I think at the time, classic you and me and the way we work, you have always been the go-getter, the big ideas guy, the action taker out of the two of us. I kind of tend to think about things for a bit longer before I come to the party. And I think the same thing happened with this. We both watched that doco. We were both a bit shocked by the end of it and going, we can't unsee that. We can't unknow what we just learned. We can't unsee what we just saw. And we're like, now what do we do with it? And my memory is like, you went all in. You did. You went cold turkey, pardon the pun, to a plant-based diet, eliminating all animal products, literally from pretty much days after watching that documentary. And I remember it was around, we were just about to turn 30, because I remember I followed suit a few months after you. I started removing meat from my diet first, because I remember from the documentary red meat being like the real thing that stuck with me. It was making quite a negative impact on the planet. And that, yeah, like just to clarify, like it wasn't necessarily so much an animal cruelty or animal welfare point that actually inspired us from this documentary. That the bit that hit home for us was actually the impact on the environment. And I'd never, I guess, prior to that, paid so much attention to our footprint as humans on the world. But when we learned about the footprint of our food, that was definitely a game changer. And red meat being one of the biggest contributors to that was why I eliminated that first. But I was, like I said, a little bit behind you. I think it's fair to say I went sort of vegetarian first and transitioned over a couple of months into a fully 100% vegan or plant-based diet way of eating. And I remember it was around when I turned 30, because I remember at my 30th birthday there was like cold meats and stuff on display and available, and I remember thinking, I won't be eating that after this.
Interesting. I mean, at our wedding, we had...
Oh, I'm like embarrassed now.
We had a cheesecake, literally slabs of cheese.
It was a cheese tower.
So...
And we had like what I thought at the time was the best lamb you'd ever tasted.
So we fully get, like,
yeah.
Can't cut cheese.
Yeah. No, 100%. And like, it has nothing to do with it tasting bad, right? Like, it literally just comes down to what we feel is now our responsibility to live aligned with what we know and what we believe in and what we don't want to contribute to. And like you said, you know, every dollar is a vote, and we've chosen not to vote in that way now. And we've stood by that since that Netflix doco pretty much, or not long after it.
And as much as this has a huge, and this relationship has a huge part to do with where we are now, 5 years in, it was back then that we learned about Jimmy Halfcut through a podcast.
Yeah. I went deep diving into learning more about plant-based nutrition once we discovered this new world. And one of that avenues of building my knowledge was through this podcast, this particular podcast. It was hosted by Simon Hill. He had a decent like medical kind of, I think he was a physio if I remember right, but he had a science spin to the information he was delivering, and that I frothed that quite a bit because of my nursing background. I understood when you were talking about, you know, health on a deep level. I understood the language. I understood the implications and the lingo. So I really enjoyed listening and learning from that platform. And yeah, one of the people he interviewed was Jimmy Halfcut, who runs a Halfcut, which is a conservation charity. Again, another podcast episode, I think, on that subject alone, but that speaks a lot to the work we're doing today through Earth to Body as well, from a planetary side of things, separate to the fitness side of things.
I think that's like a pretty cool place to land. Like we're at the moment promoting a Daintree tour for our members to come up and experience and stand on land that, like, so far we've raised $40,000 that's gone to land acquisition where Aboriginal clans are healing the country, and we've been able to go up and stand on a specific lot of land that our money contributed to. And most recently, we've been allowed a hectare of land that we will be taking a group up to revegetate. And yeah, I think the relationship's evolved heaps, and speaks to the impact part of our business, and speaks to, what we've been talking about with plant-based and the environmental impact and so forth. But the fitness part of it, the training, I think comes next.
Yeah, and I think, you just went a bit 1-2 skip a few to like, we heard about Jimmy Halfcut on a podcast too. Now we're going up and we're literally have a great relationship with Jimmy now, and we are doing really important work with him. But I guess what this is all, what we're trying to paint a picture for everyone is how Earth the Body was conceptualized. And hopefully we've given you guys quite a bit of background here. Like, the plant-based and the passion for sustainability came from that initial discovery in that Netflix documentary and our change of lifestyle. And we grew a passion for preserving the planet and doing that through our food choices. When we were like, how do we bring this passion, which was a new, like a driving force for us and gave us purpose in life, I believe. How do we bring that together with our passion for fitness? You were working in the fitness industry, you were enjoying it, but you wanted to help more people from memory, if memory serves me right. Like, I remember you saying something along the lines of, I can only help so many people in the current ways that I'm working in this industry. If we can create a group model which also fosters community, and through community we can make impact, we can actually make a pretty impactful change, like a movement in terms of an impact on the world. We had a newfound passion for wanting to make a difference through our actions, and I think we saw the opportunity through doing that on a community level, on a larger scale, through business. Mm-hmm. Therefore, business, our passion for sustainability and plant-based nutrition at the time had to find a way to all come together.
And so why not online then? If it's just about impacting people, you've got access to this network of humans now through the internet. Why not online? Why in person? Why community? Why groups?
You tell me, mate. You came up with Earth the Body.
Because
you came up with the idea.
Humans need community and humans need connection. And
actually, yes, you're right.
And it's about experience. Like, if we want to give people the best hour of their day, and we haven't even touched on the training yet. There's so much to unpack there, and there's a reason that we deliver the program in a certain way and curate it how we do. But that for another podcast, maybe next. I love and this was like totally accidental, but we've filmed a piece of content recently that actually starts with like me frustrated with my content guy going like, fuck, I want to tell this story. Like, how did we get from being a green gym to arguably Melbourne's most savage gym? Like, how the fuck did we get there? and that's the hook to this reel. And maybe we can unpack that on the next reel and just go a little bit deeper into fitness and what it is that people are coming in and experiencing on the daily.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a good segue into episode number 2. But I guess the takeaway from this is you guys, the listeners, have now heard the Adrian and Chrissy backstory, how we eventually landed on wanting to create a fitness business, and at the time a green fitness business, wanting to be Melbourne's first green gym. That's evolved a lot since then, but it was, a career change for both of us. It was a huge jump for me. Again, Adrian being the risk taker, me being the risk assessor. It might have taken me a little while to come around to this idea too, but we'll just leave it with this, that I came up with the name. I'm taking that to my grave. I'm really proud of the name. I'm proud of the name Earth the Body. There's so much meaning to why our business is called Earth the Body, and a lot speaks to that whole history lesson you guys just heard. But yeah, I'm claiming that.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking came up with that.
Wake up, motherfuckers. Earth the Body.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
We're calling it?
Yeah, let's call it. Hang tight for episode number 2, legends. Thank
Fuck
you
yeah.
for listening. Oh,
Love
my
you, babe.
goodness. Oh, love you. Oh, that's cheesy as.
I fucking love you. I love you all. Peace.